Dear learners, welcome to Learning with Fun. Today, I'm going to have a read and line-by-line analysis of the poem called The Poetry of Earth by Jhon Keats. So, without wasting a single second, let's get into it. Let's start the poem, The Poetry of Earth. But before I start explaining, I would just like to tell you a few words. Actually, the original title of the sonnet was On the Grasshopper and the Cricket. And this poem was written in 30th December 1816 on request of Leigh Hunt. Actually, Keats was staying for a certain period of time on Hunt's cottage, and in fact on the request of Leigh Hunt he wrote this piece of poetry. In fact, the title of the poetry was coined by Keats himself, and when Leigh Hunt heard the title of the poetry, he remarked that it was really a prosperous opening. Well, let's have a look at the second paragraph, which is about the particular poem that we are going to read. The argument put forward by Keats in this poem is that this means that the poem deals with, and what does it deal with? It deals with the natural music of the earth. There is always a music that goes on in nature, and it never ceases, it never stops. And this is the theme of the poetry. The natural music of the earth never ceases to play through the cycle of seasons. One season comes and passes by, another season comes in, and this is how the cycle of season gets completed. And throughout this cycle of seasons, the music that we hear from earth never dies. It just goes on and on. The poem is a sonnet in which the song of the grasshopper is embodied in the octave, and that of the cricket is portrayed in the sestet. Now, we would just like to have a few words to tell you what a sonnet actually is. Actually, a sonnet, in fine, is a poem comprising 14 lines. And broadly, there are two types of sonnets in English. The first one is Petrarchan sonnet or Italian sonnet. And this poem in question is a Petrarchan sonnet that has two parts. The first one is called octave, which comprises 8 lines. And the second part, that means the last one, which is called sestet, comprises 6 lines. And there is another type of sonnet which is called Shakespearean sonnet, and I'll not talk about that right at this moment. Well, without wasting a single second, let's get into the piece of poetry. The poetry of earth is never dead. What does the poet say through this line? Actually, the poetry of earth refers to the poems, the verse, the music, or the beauty of earth. And this never dies. This never stops. It just goes on. When all the birds are faint with the hot sun, sometimes the sun shines too brightly, and sometimes the sun shines too hot for us to endure. And that's why when the birds after singing a lot are tired. And when they get tired, they hide in cooling trees. So they take a rest under the cooling trees or on the cooling trees. And at that very time, a voice will run. And what does it mean? I have just written down a few words. You can check, you can pause the video and note down the words if you want. Well, they hide in the cooling trees. A voice will run from hedge to hedge. And what does the word hedge means? Hedge refers to the thicket of bushes. It refers to the bushes. So from the bushes a voice will run means a voice will be heard. And about the new mown mead. Here about means around or by. New mown means the freshly or newly harvested mead. Mead refers to the meadows. So when the birds are tired because of the hot sun, they hide in the cooling trees, and just after that another voice will be heard from one of the hedges or about the new mown meadows. And whose voice is it? It is the grasshoppers. In the next line the poet says that is the grasshopper. And he takes the lead. He takes the lead means he is the lead singer. That means there will be some other singers that would follow. But he is the grasshopper is the main singer. Well, in summer luxury, this is a very nice phrase, and it means the grasshopper will take the pleasure or will drink the pleasure out of the luxurious season called the summer. And he has never done with his delights. That means his delights never end. His delights know no bounds. His delights are limitless. That means he never gets tired. For when tired out with fun, and when the grasshopper will be having enough fun, or when the grasshopper will be tired out after drinking or after having the pleasure or fun from the summer season, what happens? He rests at ease. He takes a rest. At ease means easily. It's an idiom. That means comfortably. So he rests comfortably beneath. That means under some pleasant weed. And weed refers to the useless plants. Actually, sometimes when you plant plants, some other plants grow naturally. Those ones are called useless plants and they are weed. So under some pleasant, charming weed, he takes a rest. The poetry of art is ceasing never. So never emphasizes that the music goes on and on and on. Actually, this is the repetition of the first line. The poetry of art is never dead. That means it goes on. Well, so the grasshopper has done its duty, and after that the cycle of season changes and winter season is ready. Winter season is present right now. On a lone winter evening. Lone means lonely. Here actually it refers to the loneliness of the poet Keats. So on a lonely winter evening, when the frost has wrought a silence, that means when the frost has made or formed a kind of silence. Everywhere it is silent, and from the stove, and stove refers to the apparatus on which we cook things. So from the stove there are shrills. Shrills means makes a sharp sound. So we hear the shrill sound or the shrill song of a cricket. The cricket's song in warmth increasing ever. Actually, when the grasshopper is done, winter comes, and in the winter season, as the music goes on, we are able to listen to the song of cricket. In warmth increasing ever means it increases the warmth because the poet is right now sitting beside the stove, and seems to one in drowsiness, and to one, actually here one refers to the poet himself, and seems to one means it seems to the poet in drowsiness half lost. Actually it's a kind of, the poet is in a state of reality and reverie. He is, I think, in a state of trance. That's why he says that he is half lost and he feels drowsy. That means he feels sleepy. He dodges off to sleep. And that's why the poet mixes the song of the grasshopper with that of the cricket. Right now the poet is listening to the song of the cricket in winter season. And as he is half lost, as he is in a state of reality and reverie, he is in a state between reality and reverie, and that is why he gets a little confused and he takes the grasshoppers, the cricket's song to be the grasshoppers. Actually he is right now listening to the song of the cricket and he is thinking that he is listening to the song of the grasshopper. This is the confusion that he has made because right now he feels a little drowsy because of the warmth of the stove. Well, the grasshoppers among some grassy hills. The hills covered with grass. And from those hills comes the sound or the song of the grasshopper. Well, if you want to listen to the same explanation in Bengali, I have just left the link in the description below. You can listen to it. Thanks for watching.